We took our son Tanner out fishing in the beautiful Eastern Sierra, and he completely schooled us. In this video, we're taking our RV to the stunning June Lake Loop to find a secret campsite, explore the mountains, and try to figure out how he managed to outfish us at every turn. You're not going to want to miss this. Our base camp for this trip is on the Forest Service lands just outside of one of our favorite places in the Eastern Sierra, the spectacular June Lake area. Every great escape begins with a single decision: to leave the noise behind. And for us, there's no better escape than the pull of the Eastern Sierra. It's a journey we've made countless times, but it never, ever gets old. With the LA sprawl firmly in the rearview mirror, we still have 175 miles of open road ahead of us. The landscape slowly transforms, the concrete jungle giving way to the stark, quiet beauty of the high desert. Our last stop for supplies is always Bishop. After topping off the tank, we spot a dump station and fresh water fill right at the speedway. That's a great piece of intel for any RVer heading up the 395. And then, the final leg of the journey, climbing into the pines. You can feel the air change, and you know you've finally arrived. Our initial plan was to top off our water tanks at the Crestview Rest Area, but as often happens when you travel, the road had other ideas. Fortunately, we carry enough water for a night or two. It's a good reminder to always have a backup plan, especially when it involves boondocking. Instead of heading to the more popular and likely more crowded Owens River Road, we decide to try our luck further up on Bald Mountain Road. We're meeting my brother Mike, who lives up here, so we can use his truck to scout for spots rather than having to unhook. Fortunately, they have a nice paved area right next to the highway we can park in. This didn't used to be here. With Mike driving, we head for a favorite spot we know is just up the road. And of course, it's taken. On a busy weekend, you can never count on getting the prime real estate. That's the reality of boondocking, but that's okay. The search continues. There are plenty of forest roads to explore here, but definitely fewer established sites than you'd find on Owens River Road. After a bit more searching, we find one that looks promising. We're pretty sure it's going to work. Okay, scouting mission complete. Now for the tricky part, bringing in the house. Towing on any forest road requires you to take it slow. This one has a few serious washboard sections to keep you on your toes, but for 3 miles, it's very manageable. Alright, here we are. The final approach is narrow, and the site itself is pretty overgrown. It's clear it's been a few years since anyone has camped here. It's going to take some work, but this is it, our spot. First things first, we have to get the trailer backed in. It's a tight fit, so it's going to be a careful multi-point turn, a little back and forth. And we've got it. With the trailer in place, the next challenge is getting it level. This soft pumice ground can be really tricky, as the levelers just want to sink right in. And with that, we're ready to call it a night. It's a new day in the Sierra, and after a quiet night at our site, it's time for a new adventure. We're leaving the trailer behind for the morning and heading out to see if the fish are biting at Walker Lake. And today is a little extra special for us because we're not doing this one alone. That's because our son Tan and his girlfriend Taylor drove up from Southern California late last night to join us for the weekend. All right, we're here at the trailhead. Time to grab the gear and start the hike down to the water. The easy part, the drive, is done. Now for the hike. It's a short but steep trail that drops right down to the water. Walker Lake is one of our all-time favorite fishing spots in the Sierra. This steep hike down is the price for admission, and it's what keeps the place much quieter than the easily accessible lakes on the loop. And as we get closer, the drone gives us the first full view of the lake. It's just a stunning sight from up here. Now you can see a private dock at the far end of the lake, and there's a forest road that leads right to it, but it's behind a locked gate. We're not sure how that private access works, which is why we always come in via the public trail. This part of the hike is deceptively easy. It's all downhill, but in the back of your mind, you know you're going to pay for it on the return trip. Especially since that return trip is at 8,500 feet, where the air gets thin and the climb feels twice as hard. And after that short hike, we're finally here. The shoreline is so peaceful. This is exactly what we came for. I start getting my gear ready and immediately run into a problem. I grabbed the wrong setup from the house. The line on here is ancient. It has total memory of the spool, making it completely useless. The only option is to strip it all off, but fortunately, Tan brought some extra line. It really makes you stop and think. You spend all those years making sure they're prepared, and then, one day, they're the one prepared for you. It's a real full circle moment. With fresh line on my reel and everyone ready to go, it's time to get down to business. Now, all we have to do is hope the fish are hungry. We spend a little while casting from the main shore, but we're not getting any bites. Tan and Taylor decide to change tactics and move a few hundred feet up the lake to try a new spot. I'll hold down the fort here and keep fishing this spot, mainly to watch over all the gear we have spread out on the shore. And sure enough, their move pays off. It isn't long before we hear that magic phrase yelled from up the shore, "Fish on!" And it turns out to be a successful day for everyone. Taylor lands one too. Though, let's just say Tan's is a little more meal-friendly. So, after a quick photo, hers gets to go back and live to fight another day. After the initial excitement, the bite slows down a little, which is pretty typical for the middle of the day. But we're not ready to leave just yet. We see Tan and Taylor are still up on the shoreline working a promising looking spot. And that persistence pays off. Tan hooks into another one, and you can tell right away from the bend in the rod that's another good fish. And he gets it to the shore. Another beautiful Walker Lake trout. That officially makes 2 keepers for him today. With 2 nice trout on the stringer, we have our dinner set. You couldn't ask for a better way to end the day of fishing. And now it's time to pay the real cost of entry, the 500-foot climb back out. For this part, we're putting the camera down to focus on the hike. We'll see you at the top. And we made it, back at the top. This is actually the trailhead for the infamous Bloody Canyon Trail. And after that 500-foot climb, we have a pretty good idea of how it earned that name. Everyone's exhausted, but it's that good tired you only get from a great day out on the trail. A successful fishing trip and a serious workout to boot. Time to head out. That hike definitely earned us a cold one. We're navigating back out the bumpy forest road and making a beeline for June Lake Brewing to celebrate a great day of fishing. No matter how many times we drive this loop, this view always gets us. The way the lake appears below the mountains. It's pure Sierra magic. Finding the brewery itself is a little bit tricky. You'll see the signs for it right on the main loop, but the building is actually tucked away behind the June Lake Motel. The directions feel a little strange, taking us through these back streets, but we put our faith in Google Maps, and sure enough, it delivers. This time. Yeah, you can tell right away what the vibe is here. From the hand-painted signs to the location itself, this is a classic no-frills skier and snowboarder hangout. As we get closer, the first thing that hits you is the soundtrack. Classic 80s punk rock. This place is bustling way busier than the parking lot suggests, which tells you right away that this is a true local spot, with most people just walking over from around town. The brewery has such an authentic feel, and that's because it was started by people who fell in love with this place, just like us. The founder was actually a pro brewer in Southern California who decided to leave the city behind and live the Sierra dream. And a huge part of that dream was to help build a real craft beer scene right here up in the mountains. Their secret weapon? They brew with the pure, clean water right from the Sierra, which gives their beers a signature, ultra-clean taste. Of course, we have to try their most famous beer, the Alper's Trout Pale Ale, the one named for the legendary local fishery. We also grabbed one of their Deer Beer Brown Ales to go with it. Beers in hand, we head outside to find the rest of our crew. And sure enough, they're already over at the La Paria truck, getting everything ordered. And the verdict is in. The beer is definitely worth the visit. It's the perfect way to cap off a successful fishing adventure. So while we're on the beer run, Tan and Taylor took care of the food. June Lake Brewing famously partners with a resident food truck, and today it's La Paria, serving up some amazing looking Mexican food. And it's not long before we get the buzz we've been waiting for. That's our cue, the food is ready. And I'm happy to confirm the food is every bit as good as it looks. Tan and Taylor ordered up a feast, a mix of bone-in and boneless chicken wings, and a massive plate of loaded carne asada fries. Now that was an amazing meal. The only question left is, how do you top it? You top it with churros, ice cream, and a massive slice of chocolate cake. That's how. Of course, we're doing this completely backwards. We still have 2 beautiful trout to cook for our actual dinner back at camp. So here's our final thought on June Lake Brewing. If you're in the area, you absolutely have to stop here. The beer and the food are fantastic, but the real star is the atmosphere. Just sitting outside, enjoying that crisp mountain air. It's the perfect Sierra experience. With our appetizers finished and the sun starting to get lower in the sky, we make the drive back to camp. It's time for the main course, the fresh trout we caught this morning. When you have trout this fresh, the best way to cook it is the simplest. We really want to let the fish itself be the star of the show. So it's just a classic preparation: a little salt and pepper, a few slices of lemon, and a good pat of butter. We wrap it all up in foil and put it straight on the grill. This method perfectly steams the fish and showcases that delicate natural flavor of the fresh caught trout. The next morning, we wake up to the sound of a very insistent and very unusual alarm clock. This little guy was determined to get our attention. And while we love our wildlife neighbors, we're not too keen on one trying to drill a hole in the side of our trailer. Hopefully he gets bored soon, because we'd rather not have to evict him. Fortunately, our little friend eventually found a more interesting tree to bother, leaving us to get our day started. First on the agenda is a trip into the village for a local favorite we've been wanting to try: Pinot pies for some coffee and one of their famous meat pies. All right, here we are, Pinot pies. It's one of the newer spots in town, but it's already become a local favorite, famous for its authentic New Zealand-style meat pies. And right away, you can tell this place is serious about quality. They're using local barbed wire beef from just down the road in Bishop, and they have a very impressive coffee setup. Meat pies and great coffee, that's a winning combination. And it's not just savory pies here. Taylor went for the sweet route with a beautiful apple pie and a cappuccino to start her day. But we're on a mission for their main event, the New Zealand meat pie. We chose the buttered chicken, and it's fantastic. So the final word on Pinot pies? With delicious pastries, both sweet and savory, and seriously outstanding coffee, this place is a total winner. It's officially on our must-visit list for when we're in this neck of the woods, and we highly recommend you add it to yours as well. With breakfast taken care of, we're making the short drive over to our next stop, the main beach at June Lake. We want to see if we can get a line in the water and enjoy the view for a bit. And as we pull up, we're met with the one sign no traveler wants to see: lot full. But it turns out to be our lucky day. We pull up to the entrance gate, fully expecting to be turned away, but the attendant tells us there's one spot left. So for $10 we got in, and now the hunt is on for that one single solitary spot. As the beach comes into view, you immediately understand why it's so popular. I mean, where else do you find a perfect sandy beach tucked away in the middle of the high Sierras? And we found it, the last spot. There's just one small problem, but that's nothing our human log mover can't handle. Thanks, Dan. Now, while the main beach is great for sunbathing, here's a little locals tip for fishing. The real secret is to walk down the southeast shoreline. The bank gets much steeper over here, and there's a fresh spring feeding the lake. This is where the trout like to hang out. We get our lines in the water, but as often the case with midday fishing, the bite is slow. That's all right though. When the fishing is off, the people watching is definitely on. The lake is just a classic summer playground, with everything from fishing boats to kayaks and people just enjoying the incredible view. We've had a great time at the beach, but now it's time to go see some family. My brother's getting ready for work soon, and Tan and Taylor want to visit with him before he has to go in. His house is also the perfect place for us to take care of a little boondocking chore, filling up our water bladder. I'm using a great tip here that I got from Kyle at The Wandering Shores. We're filtering the water as it goes into the bladder now, and then we'll filter it again when we transfer it to the RV's main tank later. I'm also using a water flow meter here for one simple reason, so I can completely empty the bladder into the tank. It makes storing the empty bladder so much easier. Alright, that was a successful stop. The kids got to see their uncle, and we got our water. Now it's time to head back to the trailer and get this transfer done. Alright, let's do this. Instead of relying on gravity, which could take forever, I use a custom setup with a spare 12-volt water pump. I've modified it with a simple on-off switch and added quick connect fittings. For power, it plugs directly into an XT90 connector I've wired to the trailer's battery system. The whole process is fast, efficient, and makes a huge difference when you're off-grid. Now, is this the fastest way to transfer water? No, but it's reliable, it uses gear we already carry, and it definitely gets the job done without much fuss. If you thought we were done fishing for the day, then you don't know our son Tan. We heard there was another spot to try, so we're heading up to Gull Lake, which is right next to June, but a bit less busy. And the drive up here is an adventure in itself. It's a steep, rugged road that takes you to what they call the Rooftop boat launch, because there's absolutely no way you're getting a trailer up here. You can do all the research you want, but nothing beats local knowledge. This gentleman saw us scoping out the area and offered to show us where the fish were actually biting. That kind of generosity is what makes a place like this so special. You just don't find that everywhere. The spot he shows us is fantastic, shady, secluded, and it even has a rope swing that the locals must use in the summer. That swing is also a great sign for us, because it's a testament to just how deep the water gets right here along the shore. It's interesting to see that most of the fishing pressure on this lake comes from the boats. You don't see many people fishing from the shore. Which just proves that local gave us a great tip. We've got this spot all to ourselves. There's a few nice vacation homes here too, including this 9-bedroom, 16,000 square foot beauty. The bite's starting off slow this afternoon, and I think we may have just found the culprit. Now it's time to see what this lake really looks like from above. Let's take it to the sky. And from this high up, you get a real sense of the layout. You can see there's only a few hundred yards of land separating Gull Lake from the much larger June Lake. And that lucky little neighborhood sandwiched right between them, that's the village of June Lake. What an incredible place to live. You know, sometimes the beauty of a place like this just speaks for itself. So for the next minute, we're going to let the drone do the talking. Sit back and enjoy the view. Well, it's been quite a day of fishing already, but I figure I'll try one last cast from this spot. And lo and behold, on the very last cast, fish on. I can't believe the luck. But now for the big question. How am I supposed to land him from all the way up here? Yep, I knew that was going to happen. And on that bittersweet note, our day of exploring the lakes comes to an end. Some wins, some losses, but a fantastic day all around. It's Tan and Taylor's last morning with us, so we're sending them off the right way, with a big camp breakfast. And there's simply nothing better than the sound of bacon hitting a hot griddle to get the day started. And of course, no big camp breakfast is complete without pancakes. But these aren't just any pancakes. The youngsters are on high protein diets, so at their request, we're whipping up a batch of protein pancakes to go with the bacon. And to round out this big farewell breakfast, you've got to have some eggs, right? All right, our job here is done. A big breakfast to get them started on the long road home. Hopefully that'll last them until Big Pine anyway. And just like that, they're on their way. It was so wonderful having them here with us. It makes you think back to when they were young, and trips like this felt like they would last forever. But once they grow up and start their own lives, you realize just how precious these moments together really are. Drive safe, kids. Now that it's back to just the two of us, we decide to spend the afternoon exploring the upper end of the loop, starting with beautiful Silver Lake Resort. You can really feel the history in this place. It was originally founded as Carson's Camp way back in 1916, making it one of the oldest resorts in the region. While we were checking out, we got to chat for a minute with the owner, Andrew. He was working the register and mentioned that it had been a crazy busy weekend, but that things were finally starting to calm down. It's a reminder that this is a true family-run operation. His parents bought this resort back in 1977, which is a few years before I first moved to Mammoth as a young man. It's amazing to see this place still here and still run by the same family. With a little cafe, a full fleet of rental boats, cabins, and a full hookup RV park, Silver Lake Resort is a great spot. Now we're using the Rush Creek Trailhead to turn around. This is arguably one of the prettiest and definitely the busiest hike on the entire loop. The upper loop is packed with other great spots to see, like the beautiful Double Eagle Resort, and quieter trailheads like this one for Fern and Yost Lakes, which is a great tip if Rush Creek is full, though keep in mind they are more difficult. And then it's back down to the village and the historic June Lake Marina, which is the main hub for renting a boat and getting out on the water. And on a warm summer day, you can grab a cone at the local scoop, but be prepared to wait in line. This place is incredibly busy. We chose the vanilla bean, and it was great. What really strikes me is how little this village has changed. I lived up in this area over 40 years ago, and so many of these same shops are still right here. Especially the June Lake General Store. It's been the heart of this town since the 1920s, and it still has just about everything you could possibly need. We'll grab a few things and head back to the campsite now. Well, it's our last morning here in June Lake. It's moving day for us, but before we start packing up, we wanted to take one last look around this incredible spot we've called home. We've been so busy exploring, we really haven't shown you the area right around our camp. So we're gonna send up the drone and then take a final walk through our little neighborhood here in the woods. We've camped all over the 395 corridor, and we specifically chose Bald Mountain Road for this trip for a few key reasons. First, it's just less popular than the main boondocking areas, which means less competition for spots and, more importantly, fewer close neighbors. And while there are spots a bit closer to town, they tend to get pretty crowded. This area is the perfect balance. It's still just a short drive to the June Lake Loop, plus it was new for us, and we always love to explore. But the real selling point for a summer trip is the elevation. We're sitting at about 8,000 feet up here, which makes a huge difference in the heat. Our warmest day was only about 80 degrees. And of course, let's not forget the obvious reason we're here. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's really cool to see these Forest Service markers out here. It's a sign that new trees are being planted, ensuring that this area stays beautiful for many years to come. And just like that, our trip is coming to an end. It's time to get everything put away and get back on the road. We're gonna miss this place. It's been a fantastic trip. Not just for the new adventures, but for all the memories, both new and old. And that's a wrap on our June Lake visit. If you're new here and you like this kind of content, we'd love for you to join our community by subscribing. A thumbs up always helps the channel out a ton too. Thanks for watching, and happy camping to you.